Abhimanyu, this is our first ever video interview, and I think it's wonderful to have you here on Filme Shilmy. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me. How are you? I'm digging the new look that you have on.
Thank you. I'm loving the Dadi Wali look as well. So how's lockdown going for you? What have you been up to? I've been seeing you've been doing a lot of like rasoi and workouts as well. So how has that been going?
Yeah. Spending a lot of time with family, catching up on sleep, because before the lockdown, I was working 6 months at a stretch. I didn't have a single day off. Um, so yeah, I didn't get much to sleep. So I caught up on my sleep, caught up on a lot of films, shows that I had missed out, a lot of script reading that was going on, uh, and yeah, cooking. I got time to cook. I love to cook. I love food, so that was good for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Okay, so I know, like you mentioned as well, and I think everyone was quite aware that you were working on quite a few films, I believe, but before lockdown happened, you were working on Nikamma and Aankh Micholi, right? So
Yeah.
what was your journey like then at that point? What was it like managing both projects? It must have been quite a stressful but rewarding period for you.
It was actually quite hectic. One, changing over to the character of Nikamma, which is Adi, is extremely different from what I am and what you have seen me as.
Yeah.
So getting there, I had to get a little chubby for the role. Had to look like like a 20-year-old,
Yeah.
guy in college, just out of college kind of thing. Um, yeah, and his behavior, everything is so different from what I am.
Yeah.
And then shifting from that to Rohit almost on a daily basis. 2 days I'm shooting Nikamma, 2 days I'm shooting this thing, Aankh Micholi, and I mean, it was so heavy emotionally on me, so heavy mentally on me to shift characters. I lost a lot of track of my personal life as Abhimanyu.
Yeah.
Which I tried to cover up during the lockdown because I could just be me.
Yeah.
But you miss a lot of things in people's life when you're away from 6 months, when you're close. People are going through stuff, and it took a toll on my personal life trying to juggle these two characters.
I remember. Yeah, yeah. I can completely understand as well because I guess because you're the sort of person as well that likes to dedicate your entire self to that particular character, right? So
Yeah,
how?
I actually how do I put this? I submit myself to the character. So there's very little bit of Abhimanyu that's left uh, when I'm playing another character. So some traits are great that you can pick up from characters, and they're good people. They're aspirational figures. They're inspirational in moments. So you pick up those things and you kind of hold on to them. But then there are other aspects of a character which are not the traits that you want to incorporate in your life, and somewhere those trickle down with you. But fortunately, I had amazing co-actors in both films. In Nikamma, I had Shilpa ma'am helping me out. In Aankh Micholi, I had Paresh sir, Sharman Joshi sir, Divya Datta ma'am, and Mrunal was there, and Abhishek Banerjee. Big shout out to him.
Amazing. Yeah.
So just hanging out with these really experienced actors, watching them, it was such an adventure.
Yeah. It was almost like a little mini workshop for you whilst you're working.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I call Aankh Micholi for me. That's what I call it. It's not a film for me. It's a workshop to get into comedy and be in that spur of the moment that it was amazing.
It's interesting because I actually spoke with Panutan just recently as well about how difficult it was for her to kind of shrug off Firdaus for her next film, and she did mention it was quite a difficult period. So sort of getting rid of Surya, and I know you kind of just mentioned that there's always a bit of a character left in the characters in the roles you do. So how have you managed to shrug off Surya from Marko Dar Nahi Hota?
I mean, it's been so long since Mahatma Gandhi Hota, to be honest. I mean, not for the audience because it's just been a year,
Yeah, exactly.
but we traveled for about 6 months after we finished shooting Mard, and we showcased it all over the world. 15 film festivals, sold out. Standing ovations all over the world. So in that period, there was such a change happening because you're presenting yourself to
Mm.
directors, producers, and artists from all over the world, and you can't be Surya. So you got to be in your, you got to be yourself, and you got to be having these conversations with these people from all over the world.
Yeah.
So that's where my shedding period actually began. Uh,
Mm.
and it's been over a year now. It's been what we released it in 2019, and
Mm.
we finished shooting for it in 2018.
Okay.
So it's
It's been quite a
it's
while.
been a while. Yeah, it's been
Mm.
a while. So uh, once you start getting into another character, and if you've just jumped out of a previous character, then I can understand becomes tough. But I had a year to get back to being Abhimanyu. But
Mm.
as soon as I realized I'm becoming Abhimanyu is when I had to jump into Adi,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
was
yeah.
so different from me. So I just like touched Abhimanyu, like I'm back, not back anymore, and then I'm Adi.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm back. No, I've gone again. What's happening? I can imagine that. I can totally imagine how difficult. I mean, that's
And
probably.
I didn't realize it till my friends started telling me this. When I was having conversations with my friends on the phone or meeting them, and they'd pick out instances where I behave differently or I say something differently, and they'd be like, Adi, that's not Abhimanyu, that's Adi.
Yeah, and I think both your films that you have up coming up, they're very different from obviously Malko Darni Hota. Whilst Malko Darni Hota did have its sort of deal of comedy, I guess Aankh Micholi is a more family entertainer, which has more onus on comedy. And obviously Nikamma, like you've mentioned in one of the podcasts that we did before as well, that it's more like a Bollywood masala film. So
Yeah, yeah.
so how did you, was there any sort of reference point for you to kind of look up to whilst doing these films?
See, when we spoke earlier, I remember I was in Utah, and you'd call me up, and I was at the airport,
Mm.
and we were speaking, and I said at that time, I told you that every movie that I want to do now is break away from the image that you form of Abhimanyu, break that box. Every time you try and put me in the box, I'll break that box. So
Yeah.
when you have Mud, which is well, film festival film, you break the box and then you do a Nikamma, which is a mainstream commercial Bollywood film,
Yeah.
an action family film.
Mm.
And then you break that and then you do Aankh Micholi, which is a out and out comedy film, doesn't have any action at all.
Mm.
So that's been my key in deciding what I want to do next.
Mm.
And yeah, they're obviously, man, getting into Nikamma with Sabe sir was such a big deal for me because I'm not from that background at all, and I
Yeah.
had to do a lot of research to get in to the character of Adi and see what kind of works and
Mm.
who does it better than Varun Dhawan these days.
Yeah, true.
Back in the day we had Govinda, who was he was just amazing, but
Yes.
well, new age Varun Dhawan has been killing the commercial market, and
Yeah, he
that's
really.
his genre. So I definitely watched a lot of Varun Dhawan films, and I think I told him that also. I told him I've seen a couple of your films for this character, so watch out for it when you see it. And big shout out to Ranveer Singh, man.
Yeah.
I met him before I signed for Nikamma, and Simba had just come out, and had a long conversation with him about uh, is it time for me to step into commercial cinema? Is it going to be tough? How do you go about the stuff?
Mm.
And he gave me a pep talk, and he told me to definitely jump into Nikamma. So
Okay.
big shout out to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I think it's great as well that you have these conversations with contemporaries and you're open to learning. And I think even just that, I think even your journey as well, Abhimanyu. Like I think it's been very different. For example, you have a lot of actors who are, for example, they get the launch because, I don't know, because they have a very glamorous name attached to them. But with you, you've worked hard to get to this stage.
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
look back and reflecting back, what is the thoughts that cross your mind when you kind of look back to, I don't know, say to the Abhimanyu that was doing startups, to the guy who's doing like these big, like budgeted movies and like masala films? What sort of thoughts cross your mind?
Um, so the amount of inclination or dedication that I have towards either one um, has been pretty much the same. You know, when I was doing a startup, I would immerse myself into that, and I'd be just thinking about that day in, day out. And when I'm doing a film, that's the only thing that I'm thinking about day in, day out. And obviously, you know, in terms of business, it's, according to me, it's way easier because you don't have to think about your next step. You're just working this out. But when you're doing a film, you're hearing other scripts as well.
Right.
You know, and it's such a team game. Doing a film is such a team effort, and that's why in all my interviews I always say the actors are given way more credit in Bollywood, in the Indian film industry, than they deserve, because it's a team game. You know, it's the director, the producer, the co-actors, the hair and makeup, the DOP. You know, they all come together, and that unison, the effort that is put in together is what translates into making a good film. You know, one good actor may be able to carry off good scenes, but if the writing isn't good, you're not going to enjoy the whole experience.
Yeah.
So it's and whereas most of the businesses that I did, most of the startups that I did, I was just the shot caller. You know, I would decide and I would go through with it. You know, here these aren't my decisions. So, you know, you got to play your part. You got to say that, listen, I'm the actor, but it's the director's film. So whatever he wants, I just have to deliver that. You know, and he's the captain of the ship. You know, you have to, and that's how I do it. I just submit myself and I say that, you know, if you think it's right, it's right. I can have a suggestion, but then you're the captain. So
it's true, and I think this industry itself, it's very like public sort of focused on, in a sense, like, of course, you always have a consumer, of course, in every business you do, right? But I think in film, there's more of an onus on the people, on the public, and because obviously we're the ones who decide to, you know, give our money to watch a film, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big involvement of whatever you call it, luck, fate, destiny, you know, in the outcome of the film, whether the audience enjoys it or not. And if you fail in a startup, maybe 20 people will know about it. Yeah. Maybe 100 people will know about it. If you fail in a film, there are about 2 million people who are going to put you down, you know, and you got to live with it. Right. So, you know, it's definitely a scary thing to go into.
And speaking of scary, I think this is one thing that I would love to know. I mean, what would you say is, I don't want to say your greatest fear, but what is your greatest fear in life? And how do you hope to overcome that? What would be your mantra to overcome that in life?
Biggest fear in life or biggest fear as an actor?
Both. I think both is just as important.
So, not reaching my potential is a big fear that I have. And I mean, when you talk about, like, when you get into real fears of life, then a fear of abandonment is definitely a heavy underlying fear that I have, for sure. And how do I overcome this is, I mean, you just got to believe in yourself, and you got to stay in your lane and work as hard as you can on what you have to do. You know, as long as you're disciplined about your work, a win today or a loss today shouldn't affect my mood tomorrow. And if I keep doing that, after a point, you know, maybe in a week, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, fate, destiny, luck, whatever you want to call it, has to meet my hard work.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds very apt as well. And I think again, just referencing one of the first interviews that we did, you know, I think even in growing up days, I mean, obviously we've spoken about your mom. But obviously she kept you. I think your parents actually, it was a conscious decision on their part to keep you away from the film
Yeah.
industry. So how was that? I mean, that journey coming in. I mean, how unexpected was it for you? I mean, was it always at the back of your mind that I want to become an actor at some point, or was it just did it just go with the flow and it just happened?
I put up a photograph of mine recently on Instagram saying then and now. I mean, if you
Yeah,
see my photographs, no, I would, that would be insanely brave to have a dream to become an actor when I looked like that.
hey, but that's okay. I mean, it's all about the talent, right? At the end of the day, I mean, looks technically are secondary. I mean, even though they
I had zero talent at that time. I'll be honest. I was
really,
um, yeah, and it took me years, and I'm glad in a way when I look back and I see that I've been in the industry for over 10 years now as an started off as an assistant director and made my way uh, through, and I only got my film after such a long period of time. I see that if I got a film earlier, I would have bombed,
hmm,
because the amount I learned during this process, during this adventure is what translates into the cinema that I can create.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, my parents definitely kept me away. They weren't happy with my decision to get into films, and
really, wow,
yeah, and contrary to popular belief, I didn't get any help from my house whatsoever to get into acting. So all my training bills were paid by me. Uh,
hmm,
all the calls, meetings that I could set up were made by me.
hmm,
I have stood outside casting directors' offices, studios for days without giving an audition. Morning to
hmm,
evening. I've done the grind. I've been at all these offices giving my portfolio shots and my video. Uh, so
reels,
I'd
yeah,
made
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I'd made like a video portfolio. So it
yeah.
had like 5 images. It had me dancing. It had my uh, acting quotient, and it was all into a trailer of like 2 minutes, and that's what I used to just show
Yeah.
them that.
Ah, showreel. That's the word. I was thinking. I was
Yeah,
like,
sure, sure,
showreel.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
the one. Okay.
But yeah,
So,
I think that journey that I went through of achieving all this on my own, uh, even though people still categorize me in the other aspect which I don't like, it's for my own satisfaction. I go to sleep
yeah.
happy knowing that I stood up on my 2 feet,
Hmm.
and whatever I have in my life is because of me, and my parents acknowledge that, and they're really proud of it now that I could grind my way through and you know get an
Yeah.
opportunity. So
No,
they're
I think
happy now.
it's good, and I think it's probably quite a proud moment for them. I mean, I still remember when you got your Filmfare Award as well, when your mom hugged you, and that whole announcement was so beautiful because I think she won Filmfare Best Debut, I believe, for Maine Pyar Kiya, and then years after her sons won it. So, what
30
was that
years
experience like? Yeah, what was that
30
experience like?
years uh, it was surreal, man. It was I'd never thought that I could even scratch the surface of the shadow that my mom has created in the industry, by just doing one great film 30
Yeah.
years ago. And I still felt that I wouldn't be able to come out of that shadow. And so making her proud is extremely important for me. I told her that one day people will recognize you and say that's Abhimanyu's mom.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know?
Mm,
And I feel that was another leap in the direction that I want to go in, and
mm,
and just seeing her proud, it's a moment for life.
mm. And I think there's a lot of I've noticed there's a particular growing fan base for you as well. I think when people talk about the debutantes, besides the other names, or perhaps let's just say I don't want to use that word that everyone uses, but the other glamorous names that normally get the attention that they get during the
Yeah.
debut. A lot of people always say, "Well, hold on a second. What about Abhimanyu? His debut in Marko Hota was amazing, and they still sort of celebrate you. How does it feel to kind of notice this increase in popularity in that sense, especially on the social media front?"
I mean, slow and steady is good. I'm still nowhere compared to the other debutants with my fan base or my social media. Uh, kind of presence, in that sense. All the other debutants have a way bigger social media presence and a fan base because, well, their films were bigger films and they were marketed and they had PR and they had support from their families and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
but it's good. I mean, I'm here to act. I'm not here to sell my soul on the social media. So, I like to keep things private. And
Love it.
slow and steady is good.
Yeah.
Slow and steady is good. Uh,
Right.
In that sense, I have more like a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year plan where I always say that I'm not the person who jumps on trends to stay relevant. you know you're not going to see me jumping out of character to grab your attention is not worth it for me.
No. Yeah.
So I'm going to be me. And my decisions will be reflecting 5 years, 6 years, 10 years down the line.
Sure.
It's for me, it's always about being classic. So I
Mm.
can look back and say that I wasn't doing anything stupid 5 years ago.
I know you know what, it's so funny actually. I was looking back at my Facebook memories of like 10 years ago when I was in school. I was like, my English teacher would have killed me by now if she saw the sort of language I was using on the stage. It's so true actually. Like we don't actually realize, but social media is technically a footprint. It's always there for posterity. So I think it's even more important to kind of be more wary and cautious about it, right?
I mean, I just like to be authentically myself. I'm not gonna cater to demand and change myself according to that, which changes every 3 months. There's a trend of something going on for 3 months and then 3 months and there's no continuity.
Yeah.
There's no consistency,
Mm.
and I don't want to be the person who's inconsistent.
Mm.
If you see my interviews from before month and you see my interviews now, I've been saying the same things.
Yeah. There's been, I
So
think you've become more, I think you've become more confident. I think with the way you give your answers and the way you deal with the media. That's definitely one thing that I've noticed since we
yeah,
did our first
May-
interview anyway.
yeah, maybe, but I mean, I'm still saying the exact same things. I might be using different words, but it's because my belief is so strong in those things. You know.
Right, right.
So
Obvious.
nowadays on Twitter they take out clips from your earlier interviews and, oh, you
Yeah.
said this and that. You won't be able to do that with me.
Yeah,
You
I've
won't be
been
able to
seeing
do that.
quite a lot of those, trust me.
Yeah, you can't do that with me.
Yeah. So so it would be right to say that your sort of motto in life as an actor and as a person is consistency, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of the top adjectives that a person should, you know,
Hmm.
what is the right word to move towards, to aspire to be consistent,
Yeah.
in whatever you do, because consistency in your discipline is what is going to exponentially grow you.
Right. Yes, that is very, very true. Obviously lockdown has been a big blow, I think, to all of us as humans, and I think us as a world. And in fact, the landscape of Indian cinema has changed significantly as well. We're seeing a more preference to digital content. I think just today, Disney Plus Hotstar had announced like 7 Bollywood films that's going to be shown and premiering on there. Post lockdown, I mean, what do you think will be the greatest change within the industry, do you think?
So there's going to be a lot of power shift. Uh, According to me, there's going to be a lot of juggling of that. The way people are going to go ahead now, uh, in terms of these trends and the attention that they get on social media, is going to change a lot. They're going to look before they take the next step. They're going to make those evaluative decisions harder, so that they're not it doesn't come back to bite them. A lot of that is going to happen. um, but yeah, I think other than that, there's going to be a lot more um, production in terms of OTT platforms, because it's grown amazingly in this lockdown, and everyone's been at home, so they've been watching OTT, and people who didn't have the access to these platforms have now become members, and
Yeah.
have so the growth has been insane, and that's amazing, because the kind of content that comes in um, without censorship and without all those things, that
Mm.
people want to tell those stories can now come out in on OTT, because there is an enough fan base, enough audience for that
Mm.
kind of cinema. And I believe a lot of big films are going to come out in the theaters as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of magnitude, it's going to be, you're going to see big films in the theater, and you're going to see content based cinema on OTT. That's my take
Mm.
on that.
And as an actor, I know you mentioned that you always want to break every box that people put you with. Um,
Yeah.
but is there a particular role which you think would really make people go, "Whoa, this guy is just too good"? How do you do that?
Athlete. I want to
Oh,
play a sportsman. Yeah, for sure.
oh,
I have the utmost regard and respect for athletes. The kind of dedication and discipline required in their field is unparalleled in any other profession. Uh, I believe so. And getting a shot to make something that people can watch and be motivated and be inspired to, I think, kind of guide their life or change their life in a certain way,
yeah.
would be an amazing feeling to be just part of that.
Mm,
Um,
right.
because I watch a lot of sports. I've been an athlete earlier, right off school, and I'm excited to watch films based on sports. Always, it's been one of my favorite genres. So it's also, I would say, relatively an unexplored genre in Indian cinema. There are very few sports films that come out every year,
Yes.
and even fewer than that, which are really really good sports films. You know,
Mm,
so
yeah.
yeah, absolutely,
And I
it's
and I
something that
think
I would.
I think as well with sports films, I think you just have to have the right balance, isn't it? With the sports quotient as well as, for example, if it's a biopic, like I always say, MS Dhoni is probably one of my favorite like sports biopics I've ever seen. I think it has to have a good balance, isn't it, to make it a good watch?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Most of the sports films have a very limited time where they actually show the sports.
Hmm.
Where
Hmm.
they show that action is very limited, but it's a story that leads up to the event,
Right.
the human experience, the troubles, the obstacles that are faced by the athlete to reach where he's supposed to reach or she is supposed to reach. Um,
Hmm.
it's usually the human story that is more important than the physical story.
Sure. Sure.
See, the thing is, I'm not afraid to act, and that's why I'm here. And I think acting is a language which uh, is a way of communication in which language is not a barrier.
Sure. Yeah. Hmm.
If I emote, the emotion in any language remains the same,
Hmm. Right.
right?
Hmm.
Um, and we don't necessarily need words to emote.
True. 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 True.
You know,
Hmm.
most of the deepest emotions don't really come out with words. It's usually facial expressions and noises,
Hmm. Yeah.
which are not, there's it's not grammar. So in that sense, I would love to do and like you said, South films is definitely something that I would look forward to doing. Maybe a Telugu film or a Tamil film. I enjoy watching it, so why
Yeah.
not try and be part of it. uh, Hopefully, probably next year or the year after that, I'll actively go and look for work in the South,
Wow.
and
Right.
yeah, give a couple of auditions there. Hopefully they like what they see, and
Yeah. Wow,
you
well,
know
that sounds very interesting. But on a final note, Abhimanyu, obviously, like I mentioned, lockdown has been very unprecedented, and I think it's been a very testing time for the strongest people and the most vulnerable too, of course. What has been your greatest learning throughout this process, and how do you hope to use that learning in your life here on?
let go the illusion of control. That is a line master Oogway said in Kung Fu Panda. You have to let go the illusion of control. We try and hold on too tight to everything, and I did that as well. I planned so much that this year I'm going to have 3 films releasing. It's going to be back to back. I'll have 6 months after the release of 3 films to finish another film. I'll take 2 months off, and I'm going, and I had a plan to go to I had planned to go and do an acting workshop for about 2 months and an action workshop for 2 months in LA. So I like kind of figured that out, and spoke to people over there, made some phone calls, spoke to a few action directors that got in touch with me after Mud. They were like, yeah, awesome, come train with my team here. So I had so many things planned out, and I don't see any of that happening, at least for the next 1.5 year.
Yeah.
So and if I let that get to me, then I'm never going to make that happen. So you have to let go that you can control. I'll obviously put in 100% effort towards whatever your goal is, but then the outcome is not in your hands. So don't work for the outcome of it.
Right.
Work for the process, for the journey of it, for just going through the grind. And like I said earlier, a win today or a loss today shouldn't affect my mood tomorrow. That's where the consistency will die.
Sure.
If I enjoy every day, if I get a good night's sleep thinking that, yeah, I made the effort in the right direction, then
you've won.
That's what life is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what life is about.
Yeah.
It's about having a peaceful night rest,
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I think that's such wise words, and I think a lot of people can sort of mull upon that as well watching this. But you know what, Abhimanyu, it's always so wonderful to catch up with you and have these meaningful conversations. So,
Thank you.
On behalf of Filme Shilmy, thank you so much for joining me on today's chat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
See you, buddy.
Thank you.